next speaker, Jan Young, is going to be joining us. And actually, how do we put some of this into practice? We've got all this learning, so now what? So here we go. Thank you so much.
Question, right?
Last time I had left a lot of time, so this time I was like, oh, maybe I should have more slides.
We're getting there? I'm loud. You know I'm loud anyway already. So just a little bit of fair warning here. I lead what do you call it? What is it? It's called CX Exchange. It's like a all-volunteer CS Pro organization of like more than 4,000 folks. And we have these virtual events every Tuesday. They're all very interactive. So I'm just putting you on notice here that this is interactive. You're not getting away with not participating, all right? So it's just how I am. I can't help it. I start a community if you say boo, and I get you involved if I see you. So that's just what's gonna happen. All right, so let's think about what we've been going through these last day and a half and everything that we've heard. I think there's been a lot of really valuable stuff. I don't know, how do you feel? Anybody? Yeah? Nodding heads? Yeah? I mean, I was taking notes. I was taking pictures of slides. I thought there was a lot of really good stuff. So, oh, this is me. I think it says on there, I start communities if I say boo, something like that. Anyway, I've been in tech for over 20 years. I've did everything professionally except for code. I just tried it, and then it didn't really stick, but it was interesting to try. And then I coach CS leaders to help them step up to the executive level, make a business impact. And a lot of what I'm focused on right now is how to innovate with AI. So that's the upshot of all those words. All right, so themes so far. Now it's all about you. I have some notes. I'm not going to put them up there yet. I want to hear from you. What are some of the themes you've heard so far? What sort of takeaways, aha moments? Anybody write a note? Anybody write? Take a picture? Yeah, good. Do more with less. Yeah, a lot of that going on, right? All right, Mike, what about you?
Value is important, but it's also hard.
Any thoughts about how to overcome that challenge?
Just commit to it, honestly. Don't get stuck in the monotony of all the day-to-day stuff. Try to keep bringing it back to that value conversation.
Cool.
Activity doesn't equal impact.
Activity doesn't equal impact. I took a picture of that slide too. That was a good one. Yeah, because it doesn't, right? Like you really need to prioritize and understand, like, what is your strategy? What are you trying to build towards in this quarter, in this year? Connecting it and aligning it to your business and to your customers, right? So like, it's not just activity, it's like which activities, prioritize. Yeah, cool, that was a good one. Yeah, Adi.
AI from productivity or efficiency to productivity.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
There's a lot of talk about how AI started in the productivity and efficiency, and that was the main KPI, and it's still the main KPI for the initial stages, but then we have to move on to more proactive, strategic, doing things on our behalf.
Yeah, like the autonomous CS, right? I loved that presentation. That was really great. And I like that term. I like that as a new term. And I'm definitely going to adopt that. How are people feeling about this idea of autonomous CS? That resonated for you? How did that? Tell me more about that.
Well, it's just different customers need different things, and so offering. I mean, I was kind of split in the middle. Like I almost think we needed to offer both efficiency and autonomous.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
Having that option helps give you more time to do the strategic things.
Exactly.
So it's really nice.
Yeah, and that would work well with what you were just telling us, right? I love that we're all up here sharing with each other, right? And in the audience sharing with each other. Yeah. Good.
That activity with the matrix, I thought it would be, I remember it well, but even trying to put the matrix in one sentence is the same with trying to describe customer success. Anybody who doesn't understand customer success. So
Right.
I thought that was a really good point.
Nice, good. All right. Any other insights here before I share what I was just gonna?
I heard no one say it, but
Yeah.
there's an emphasis on revenue and expansion.
Revenue.
Retention and protecting growth.
Yeah, and that's really why I refer to not just like customer success, but customer revenue, right? We have the whole prospect selling process, and then we have the customer revenue selling process. And how we earn the right to sell the renewal or the expansion is very different than how sales is going to sell the promise, right? And so we have all of those things that we try to borrow from sales, and it was a fantastic job that Mary Lee, was it? Yeah, Mary Lee, that she shared all of the sales frameworks, right? Because that's really all we have out there, and it feels like something that needs to be created, and probably something that it's a task I'll have to add to my list. But we need, well, actually I kind of do have it, so I'll tell you about that in a sec. But anyway, but what we need is our own repeatable process, right? Our own way of doing discovery, our own way of earning the right to sell the renewal, our own way of earning the right to sell the expansion. Yeah, actually, I do have something for that. All right, I'll share that with you in a sec. But anyway, so the themes I learned from others in the last day and a half, really just kind of around AI and CS, right? Like, this is a time of innovation. Like, this is a time of massive change. You know, we have new roles coming about even. You know, and I'll talk in a sec about kind of why that is. But customer value, we've been talking about customer value for years, right? This isn't new. But customer value is something that is absolutely necessary now. Investors impact how we work in any of our companies. They just do. And now, and so whether you're really tuned into what your investors are asking of your executives, or not, that's where it's coming from. That's where that pressure is. That's why they're asking you for things, right? And investors are all about profitability, efficiency, and customer revenue. And that's why you're feeling that additional pressure these days, why they keep asking you what sort of revenue you're generating, because it's all coming from there. That is where they're focused. And so when we're thinking about innovation, yes, it's how you're using AI, but it's also how are we getting to that customer revenue growth, right? And so then we've got reactive going into proactive. That was a great session too, right? That's your session there. But that's also another part of where we it's so easy to be reactive. It's so easy to wait for it to come to you. But we will continue to be in those fire drills unless we take charge and find what that proactive place was. I was just coaching someone earlier this morning on how to help her team take on that proactive role, because they're all saying, well, I don't have time to be proactive. I don't have time to sell that expansion. When instead, when you think about it, if you're taking on that strategic role to be that strategic advisor, that's exactly how it leads into. And now what you need is this next product. And then what we were just sitting here, Hershey bar, right? Hershey, there you are. So she was talking too about, and I'm trying to connect these different thoughts in here, so I hope that these are some of the connections you're making too already. But she was talking too about, and now because I'm all about tangents, now I'm trying to get back from where my tangent was back to this. Reactive, proactive, shoot. She was talking about, oh no. Anyway, so the way that we lead back, the coaching thing I was doing. So you think you don't have time because you're so focused on being reactive that you don't have time to be strategic. But in fact, the only way you get rid of the reactive is to go to the strategic, right? And so you have to literally say, if you want to do reactive, that you got to wait 24 hours for, and if you have a support team, you can send them to the support team for the reactive part. But even if you are in a reactive moment, you want to take the time to connect with your customer, getting to that strategic part, so that then they're not in that reactive world either, and you're leading them to the strategic part, right? And when you do that, then you have more time in that strategic world, less time in the reactive, right? So it's like connecting all the dots here on that. ROI, customer revenue, cross-functional collaboration, especially as our teams are getting smaller and more efficient and more powered by AI. And as we go to consumption-based and outcome-based pricing, that then as soon as they purchase from us, The only way we make money is if they start using our product or they start getting outcomes from our product, right? If that connects all what I just said, then customer success is even more important because customer revenue is the company revenue. And so then that's why then we start working with them earlier and start going into how you're going to start using the product immediately. And so whether you have in-app guides or if you have agents that are going to connect with them or all the different tools you have in your toolbox, it's really critical that you start with understanding them. And that goes back to what the Ever After presentation was about with autonomous CS, right? Because then what you're doing is you're taking that and you're saying, here I can personalize for you what your journey is going to be, how you're going to use our product, so that you're going to engage, so that you're going to start using it from day one, right? You so go through that process with them so that they're engaging and using it. And that's the only way that your customer's going to make any money. I mean, it's the only way your customer gets to their business objectives, but that's also the only way that your company is literally going to make any money, is through the things that you're doing with your team with them. Is this making sense? Yeah? Oh, I love that you're nodding your head. Thank you so much. All right, so that's a cross-functional collaboration because it changes how we work with sales. It changes what kind of roles we have. It changes how we work with product and engineering and all of that. So cross-functional collaboration is key. And it's all about then adoption and measuring that adoption. Going back to like what Hershey was just saying about like that adoption and how you're going to measure it, right? Because if you don't measure it, you don't know what's happening. And your CSMs then also, if it's not being measured, your CSMs don't know what to actually do strategically with their customers. Like that's how you get to the priorities of what your CSMs are doing with their customers, right? They're actually know what to engage, and then if you're measuring it, then they know for each customer where they're at each stage along the way, right? And then they know where they need to lead them. So like everybody gets a "you are here now" guide. You know, you are here and your destination is there. And now your CSMs know for all of their customers, okay, this set of customers are here. This set of customers, they're optimized. These, you know, so you've got the adoption and the optimized. And so the optimized, you know that the next step with them is to sell them the next product, and you've earned it because they're now getting that value. So you've got then also your pipeline, and you've got your priorities, and your customers are achieving their business objectives, and they know that the next best thing to do is to get this other product to start and expand even more in terms of what they're doing with you. Whereas your adoption folks, they're not ready yet. That's another quarter or 2 quarters away based upon where they are. So your CSMs also have the priority list of what to do with those customers to help them move along, right? And that's what they're going to do in the next quarter or the quarter after. And that's also your pipeline for your growth and how you project. All of this that I'm describing is actually the repeatable customer revenue system. And the way that you measure it is through a guided progress system, GPS. Got it? That makes sense? You know? I'm sorry, what's your name here? You have a green sweater on. You're typing on your computer. Nancy? Because you had a little quizzical look here, so I want to just check in with you.
I was writing GPS on my
Oh, good. All right, that's good. I just want to be sure that this connects because I'm like throwing a bunch of stuff at you. All right. Yes, guided. I liked that. GPS, guided progress system. Like GPS, I can remember. All right. So, anybody notice the emergence capital report that came out recently? If you Google it, you can get it. I forgot to get a QR code for it. I apologize. But there were 4 fundamental shifts they were talking about reshaping B2B software. And I thought that this was really interesting because they're talking about how AI is transforming, but also accelerating, right? And I think you can see that. So AI native companies, they're growing at 4 times the rate, right? And what's interesting though, now there's been some talk out there that people are sampling so many different types of AI native products that there's actually more drop-off and more churn. But in fact, if you have product market fit and you're AI native, you've got 21% higher retention rates, just off the bat, because of the way that they're working. Now, this is also because they're usually consumption-based, or a few of them are outcome-based, right? And so they know that they've got to get in there and start working with them and get them using the product. And if they're using the product, they're more likely going to stick around. So it's also a little bit out of necessity, right? Then you've got efficiency has replaced growth at all costs, and I think we've sort of seen that. Growth at all costs was where they were just like, CS, does it exist? Oh, well, maybe they'll go ahead and of course they'll use the product. Let's talk about, acquisition. Let's ring that gong for sales. Like that's what was growth at all cost period, right? That was what investors were focused on, and that's what all of our companies were focused on. That's gone. We are now in a period of efficiency, and we're in a period of customer revenue. That's what they're focused on, customer revenue growth, right? Anybody hear about APE, ARR per employee? Anybody coming to you about that? Yeah? Who's asking you or telling you about that? Who's checking out?
I mean, that's just something our CFO is starting to look at now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of pressure then, if you're talking about doing more with less, right? There's a lot of pressure, like if you have people who have left your company, they don't want to rehire. Even the Shopify CEO last spring was talking about, like, prove to me that AI can't do it, right? Like, this is the era this is a big transformation that we're going through, and that's where it's all coming from. They want us to transform literally how we work. And that's a task at hand. And as leaders especially, you want to step up to this. You want to help empower your teams. You want to even empower yourself. In fact, yesterday, is today Wednesday? Yeah. Okay, good, just checking. Okay, yesterday we did a CX Exchange Success Hour, and it was all about how to do an AI hackathon to inspire innovation in your team. And it's recorded, we were all here together, so I can always help you find that if you're interested in that, and we have resources for that. But it's really, that's what we need to do, is start inspiring our teams to innovate, right? This whole notion like, ooh, vibe coding, what is that, right? It's just prompting. It's prompting that produces a dashboard. It's prompting that produces a tool. It's just prompting. You prompt all the time. You go over on ChatGPT and you prompt. So yes, you can vibe code. So, if any of these things seem overwhelming and scary, just break it down into what is it actually, okay? Anyway, so smaller teams and companies, that's what we're in for, but it's also an exciting time, and we're all going to be more hands-on, but we're also going to be more empowered by all of this stuff. We're not going to wait for some engineer to build it. We'll just go build it. And it only takes a prompt to build it. Okay, so just starting to think about it differently. All right. And then they also have AI powers the new GDM playbook, which is just that thinking about our buyers, right? That they also want to see more ROI from the AI. And that's up to us. We're the ones who show them the value. We're the ones who show them the ROI. So having some way of articulating it and measuring it, that is also something that as leaders, we want to help our CSMs understand what tools they have to do this, but then also we have to understand for our customers, what does that mean? What does ROI mean to them, right? So asking those questions so that we build that, so we have it set up. And, CS is the new sales engine. Well, we had Mary Lee's session. We, have a variety of sessions where we're all talking about revenue and all of that. So anyway, there's a lot of other things that are in that benchmark report, and I recommend taking a look at it. But I thought it was really interesting and meaningful in terms of these 4 things that they put up front. And all right, everybody got the picture of it that they need? All right, moving on. So yeah, so basically I've been kind of talking about it already, but if you look at this, the go-to-market changes, where does it come from? The variable AI costs, right? Every time somebody uses your AI, it costs something, right? So we had to start changing our prices. And so when your costs change and your prices change, then how you go to market changes and your whole go-to-market motion changes, right? And so then you've got, as I mentioned, money's only made if the customer uses the product. Then it requires changing when and how to work with the customer, which we talked about. And then it requires changes in how your teams work together, which we just talked about. And then it also requires changes in compensation models, which we've already been hearing a few times, even this morning, right? Is how you incentivize your team with comp produces, you know? And was it Jack or Jake? Jack. The first, he talked about if you convince your CFO to set aside money to then have more incentives for your CSMs, it's actually going to pay off in bigger dividends, right? Because that, for every customer that you retain, it means that you have a better customer lifetime value, which we've been talking about for years. For every customer that stays around longer and you have the ability to grow the revenue with them, we've been talking about that for years. Now we're actually doing it, right? Now we have the tools, and with using AI, we're empowered to actually do these things. And then when you take a look at, say, advocacy, right? If then you're also building out how you build, if you have a process and a program to build out your customers in the same way that I just talked about that repeatable customer revenue system, you can do that with your advocates. You can say, who on this team, this account, am I going to, you know, is really like our cheerleader that I want to build into our advocate? And then you can literally say, what am I going to have them do each quarter? When am I going to have them participate in a webinar? What do I need to do so that they've optimized using this product so I can showcase them, so I can bring them in and put them on a pedestal and say, hey, look at what this person's done. So then they start feeling really good. So then they want to go out and say how fantastic your product is. You can track that in the same way. And you can track the revenue that they bring in the same way. And you can have your CS Qualified Advocate program and all the results you get from it and track the money in the same way. And then, you know, who's looking good now? Not just your customer, not just your company, you look good now too, right? So all of this is something you can track. When anybody who says, I have no data, poor me, you don't have to say that anymore, because even if you don't have any data, this is data you can create. You have power over this, right? Because you were talking like, there's a lot of data we don't have. There's a lot of data you might need to build. Even Jack was talking about that earlier too, right? But this is all data you can create and you can track. All right. Oh, and this was where I was talking about too, the forward deployed engineers. Anybody have any of those yet? Yeah? How is that working for you? Right, right. Yeah, it's earlier in the process during the onboarding, right? And so, did you have professional services before you had a forward deployed engineer?
Yeah.
And are they in addition to professional services?
No, we are replacing for professional services.
Okay. And so you're essentially just making the process earlier and just making certain that it happens just a little bit earlier. Is that sort of it?
Yes, and we are also using them for trials.
For trials, yep.
So that's why, that's why this model works.
Yep, yep. Do you have a complex product?
No, it's just AI native product.
AI native product, and you just want...
Yeah, it's AI native, and you're selling into government contractors who are not that great with AI right now. We need people who understand AI on the side to make sure that the systems are all.
Awesome, awesome. There was somebody over here that raised their hand. Yeah? You're using FDEs?
Yeah, for us as well, because we have AI in the product. So typically, forward deployed engineers basically a bit more fancy combination of tech consultant and dev. So we bundle that together with under one specialist.
Mm-hmm.
It's working well.
Yeah, so it's a combination of sort of like enablement, technology, and sort of like that business strategy, right? In terms of what you have in your forward deployed engineers. Because they want to make certain that the customer is set up to achieve their business objectives, right? But that can take some tech involved and that sort of thing. Is that kind of, yeah. Cool. Anybody else? Yeah?
Yeah, we have the role similar to a TAM. we call him a customer
Yep,
success
yep.
engineer, which reads pretty much that FDE lead.
Yep.
We have a model where you pay for it, but also we fund it for certain other strategic customers. And the consumption lead, I mean, we've moved our CSMs to be responsible.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so you're moving ahead, yeah. So this is actually MuleSoft, which is part of Salesforce. They actually have a team that they call consumption leads. But yeah, there's a lot of folks who that's how they sort of shift their CSMs in. And that's kind of what you've done, is you've sort of reoriented your CSMs.
Completely.
Yep.
Incentive plans and everything tied to that.
Yep. And I know a leader too, they don't call it forward deployed engineer, they just call it onboarding, right? So like, what's the name of it? Who cares? But what are they actually tasked to do, and how are you comping them, right? So are they actually, is their comp aligned for these new requirements of how you're bringing revenue into your organization and how you're enabling your customers to achieve their business objectives? Because all of that needs to be aligned, right? So, cool. And so what I want to encourage you all is, what I've sort of come up with is like these 4 types of thinking that can help us innovate and sort of rethink what we need to do in our CS programs. So there's first principles thinking, design thinking, systems thinking, and scientific thinking. And when you go with first principles thinking, that's really where you're just sort of like stripping it all away and saying, okay, if I was going to start from scratch, what do I actually need? Forget all the ways I used to do it, or we've always done it this way, but like, just what are some of the, if I was going to put it down to like bare bones, the skeleton, what's actually critical? Then after you have that, you go into design thinking, and you're really thinking about, okay, the customer. What does a customer need in their journey? How do I orient this to the customer? And then once you've sort of worked that through, then you want to bring it into systems thinking. And systems thinking is, in part, how you build it into your systems, so it's automated, so you're not doing like these manual things to go and collect it. But then it's also, how is it working as a system? How does it work cross-functionally? When you change the pricing to change, when you change the costs, and it changes the pricing, and it changes how you go to market, and it changes this, and it changes that, and then you have to work with different folks differently, right? Like, it gets all the way through. That's systems thinking, and that's where like you really need to sort of start to think, how else am I working with these other teams? What else? What's the impact of that? How do they impact the customer? How do they impact what we do? Do we have different swim lanes? How do we work together and across, right? And then scientific thinking. So you've got this whole system. You're not one and done. This is iterative, right? So how do you try things out? What are you testing? What are you measuring? How do you know if this is really working? So that's what that is. So now I want to bring it back to you and first principles thinking. What did you hear at this conference that made you rethink the way you've always done it? How are you going to test that when you get back? This is a question I'm actually asking you now. I want to hear from you again. Yeah, cool.
There was one of the sessions yesterday was like writing a value statement, or rather a statement for like what the intention is for one of your meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love that, just like distilling what the actual goal is
Mm-hmm.
of the session, and maybe I have 6 or 7 customer meetings a day, so
Yeah.
for everything. But just being able to think about like, okay, so the customer, what am I actually trying to get out of it, and just I'm fine with articulating that in advance, because then we're going into the same execution.
Yeah. Enough of all the check-in meetings. What is the actual purpose? And then they're more likely to show up, and they'll be prepared, and then they'll start thinking about you as a strategic partner. Yeah, love that. Love that. Was there another hand? Did I see? Do you have a hand? No? Thought someone else had their hand up. I'm gonna start calling on folks. I'm going to do that. I come a family of teachers. Can you tell that? All right. What else? Yeah? Awesome.
I mean, Hershey has a very impressive
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, like, I kind of rely on good enough, like, this is good enough for move forward. But I think if I have a little bit more data or analysis, I think it's going to be more impressive. Not searching for analysis does, but also I think we can get more alignment across the industry to say, like, this is what we want to do, like, how we want to move forward. This is
Mm-hmm.
support, or even just, I think, CS is better.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It makes a difference when you come with them with data and then you align it with all the things that you're doing in your business. And then it becomes a no-brainer. And they're like, it's not like they're questioning anything. It's more of a yes and situation. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that you're incorporating that. What else? If you're going to strip it away, get down to bare bones, what would you use from the last day and a half? They'd say, I'm gonna incorporate this. Yeah.
Well, I think honestly, just the whole AI conversation altogether.
Mm-hmm.
You just take all of your operations, all of the way we've always done it, and you pull out every piece that you think you could strategically turn into some sort of agent activity or
Mm-hmm.
automation in a new way. GPT, like any, just that's a lot to think about right there.
Yeah.
Just flip your whole strategy altogether the way we've always done it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what this whole period that we're in now calls for. So yeah, that's a fantastic takeaway. Awesome. Okay, so then these next two questions, choose which one you want to talk about. How much time do we have here? Okay, so for the next 3 minutes, we're going to have, if you have someone next to you, choose, okay, and choose which question you're going to do. And I'm going to time you. You got 3 minutes where one person's going to tell, and then 3 minutes the other person is going to choose one of these questions and discuss. You're like, oh my God, I really have to interact with this. All right. Okay. Are you thinking?
I am thinking.
Good.
Yeah.
Write down some notes or something then.
Huh?
Write down some notes or something. It's not going to stay in your head. Hey, I'm Jan. I didn't get to meet you.
I'm Sean.
Sean, nice to meet you.
Really appreciate it.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad. I'm trying to make it interactive here.
Thanks for
Oh. I have a link coming up.
Good.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, now swap. Swap now. So now you've got 3 more minutes. So if you didn't do like a straight off, you know, anyway, this is just your halfway mark. But 3 more minutes, swap. All right, so let's finish up your sentence here. You're good? Yeah? You got some people? Are you exchanging LinkedIn? You're going to connect with each other? Yeah? You're connecting with each other, going to continue the conversation. See, this is why community is so important, right? Is because when you're exchanging ideas, this is actually how you innovate. This is how, because you're not, when innovation, that's why, you know, they have this whole big push of people getting back to the office, which I'll never go. I'm going to keep being remote. But still, well, I live in Los Angeles. Can you blame me? I'm not going to drive 2 hours to get 10 miles. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to stay in my home office. But for all of you, though, this is why we come together, right? It's because when you're exchanging these ideas, now you're no longer working like you're the only CS leader here, you know, working on your own kind of thing. All of a sudden, then you're like, oh, really? I could do that. Oh, you know what? When you had that challenge, I did that too. Let me give you some ideas. Oh my God, really? You had that challenge? How do I get through this? This is a challenge that I have. And you build on each other, right? That is the power of community. That is the power of why we get together. Because all of a sudden, it doesn't take you, 5 years to go through and do something. You're getting it done in 5 months or 5 weeks. And this is what this era calls for, is the speed and the innovation, the acceleration, right? So if you exchanged each other's LinkedIns, please pick up my LinkedIn here. What I will give you, if we're already connected, just send me a note and say CS Impact Index. And if we aren't connected, just be sure to say CS Impact Index. I'm going to send you a link. And what this will let help you do is really evaluate where you are with business acumen, with how you're connecting things to your business objectives, as well as if you're building repeatable customer revenue systems, where you're at with that, with your AI innovation. There's 6 different areas that it'll kind of ask you questions, and you'll get points, and then you'll see kind of where you are. And it's really important to understand what your strengths are, as well as your areas for where you need to improve. And actually, I just did this really fun little exercise. If you ask me about the superhero poster, I'll send you that too. Because there's this fun little exercise where you get to reflect on your strengths and you know, sort of your superhero weakness as well, because everybody has some sort of Achilles heel, you know, like whatever. What was that Superman had? What's the kryptonite, right? Like we all have our kryptonite as well as our strengths, right? Anyway, and so you put together, it takes you through not only reflecting, but then also putting together what your superhero powers are, and then it creates a little superhero poster. So anyway, I thought that was fun. So if you want that to, you know, just say put superhero poster, and I'll send you that too. But anyway, regardless, it's really important to understand kind of where your priorities are, because that's how your team gets your priorities. And that's also where your company and your customers get their priorities. You really are, you're the crux of it. So if you're feeling a lot of pressure these days, that makes sense, but it's also something to celebrate. You know, this is a fantastic time to step up into this leadership. You know, when you do that, your customers, your team, and your company are all going to benefit from it, and your career will too. I believe that very strongly. And also next Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a master class that's all about this stuff too. So if you're interested in that, feel free to get that QR code. And that's pretty much it. Do you have any thoughts or questions before we head off to lunch? Hey, I'm here for you. What do you got? Nothing? No questions for me. How was it meeting your neighbor and talking about this stuff? Is that right? Yeah? Good. Do you have some ideas of what you're going to like go into action with when you get back to the? Oh, good. Ah, thank you. Oh, sorry, I made a noise, but that is, I'm going to cry now. No, really, that is awesome. That is exactly what I wanted. So, all right, cool. See you at lunch.
Thank you, Jan, for that. That was awesome.